What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of Thomas & Friends Home Media Reviews. This review is on The Thomas Way, aka one of the first newer CGI DVD releases that I picked up way back in the day. But I'll tell that story later on. Let's go ahead and jump right into the history section of The Thomas Way. So The Thomas Way has a pretty short lifespan. It was only released once in December of 2013. I've already ranted about this enough in past HMRs, but come on, guys. I mean, Santa's Little Engine was released, during the summer or something? I can't remember the exact date. And The Thomas Way released in December? Switch them? It's really not that hard. Just switch them around. Come on, seriously? Is it really that difficult? Anyway, avoiding going off on a rant about that, let's go ahead and jump right into the close-up section of The Thomas Way. Alrighty, everybody, here's your close-up look at The Thomas Way. That was my bad attempt at a Mark Morgan impression. It will get better as the series goes on. Thomas & Friends logo with Harold the helicopter right next to it. The Thomas Way in yet another very eye-catching font. Thomas front and center with Caitlin, Duck, Gordon, and Percy next to him. Full steam ahead to great adventures in a red bar down here at the bottom. Once again, very nice poster art. The side has our hit logo, Thomas & Friends logo, The Thomas Way, portrait of Thomas taken directly from the front, distributed by Lionsgate. On the back, Thomas & Friends logo, taking charge and staying on track with a UPC code next to it, your blurb about what's on the disc. There's Thomas, Percy, and Stafford. Your bonus features include the lift and load crane game, and you also have some Guess Who puzzles. You also have a bonus story, Luke's New Friend. This is the first time we've seen this in the US, at least I believe so. The concept of bonus stories really hasn't been explored much with US DVD releases. Thomas & Friends website link down there at the bottom along with your tech specs. We open this up. There was no pamphlet. I bought this new when it first came out, so there was no pamphlet. You also got a disc, which is a squished up version of the poster art as per usual. So that's your close-up look at The Thomas Way. Let's go ahead and transition into our menu tour for The Thomas Way. Alrighty, everyone, here's your menu tour for The Thomas Way. Art card and poster art are exactly the same as per usual. We have our same 4 options over here. Not going to read them this time because I read them last week. And let's be honest, you guys already know what the 4 titles are. I'm sure you could recite them from memory. I know I can. The Thomas Way, The Switch, Percy's Lucky Day, Calm Down Caitlin, and The Lost Puff. Main menu, language selection is going to be the same 3 options. Oh no! It's actually different. We only have English and Spanish. They've completely axed French from this release. That's interesting. That's some cool artwork with Luke and Millie right there, facing off against each other. Bonus features include our bonus story, Luke's New Friend. Interesting how it's in the bonus features menu and not in the story stops menu. Lift and load crane game and Guess Who puzzles. So we're going to play this lift and load crane game as I usually do to elongate these menu tours, therefore giving me more ad revenue. Let's do it.
Just another day on the island of Sodor, and Thomas the Tank Engine is busy moving loads around in his freight car. Thomas would like your help unloading the boxes he's pulling by using Cranky the Crane to unload them. After Thomas rolls to a stop, choose the arrow underneath the box and the crane will pick it up. Each time you help Thomas unload his freight, you're helping him get the job done. Are you ready to help Thomas?
So it's an interesting setup so far. Here comes Thomas. What's he got for us today? Oh joy, it's a blue crate from the beginning. That's cool.
Choose the correct arrow underneath the box that you want.
It's the first one. Duh. The angle that Thomas is at does not line up with the tracks, at all. He looks like he's lopsided. Maybe it's just my eyes, but he looks like he's lopsided.
Choose the arrow underneath the box.
Who is this narrator? He's not anybody I've heard previously, but he sounds way too enthusiastic to be narrating this game. I mean, I admire his enthusiasm, but like, dude, you sound way too enthusiastic to be on a Thomas DVD narrating a game. Is it gonna be in the... Yeah, the last one. Notice how the packages were blue, red, and green, as a reference to Thomas, James, and Percy, I assume. Yeah, load that freight, or pick up that freight, whatever you're doing. Now get out of here, Thomas, you little scamp. Oh, there's another one. Dang it. I thought we were done.
Choose the arrow underneath the box. Correct. Here comes the crane.
So how many levels of this are there exactly? I don't want there to be like 15 levels. If this next one isn't the last level, then I'm leaving. I don't want this to go on too long. This is very monotonous work. I'm not having any fun. Yeah, nope, we're done here. Yeah, that game, that wasn't too good. That was actually kind of bad. It was just very monotonous. Like, you did the same thing over and over again. I don't even know how that would be cool to a kid. So anyway, that's the menu tour for the Thomas Way. Let's go ahead and head on back and answer the 5 main questions, as always.
Alright, so we're back from the close-up, and now it's time to answer the 5 main questions, as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? Can't really find this in stores. I haven't seen this in stores since beginning of 2014, actually, is when I picked this up, so I'd say online retailers is really your best bet. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? No, it is not. Number 3, should you pick this product up? The Thomas Way is an interesting release, given the fact that it has some interesting episodes on it. I, for one, really enjoy the title story on the Thomas Way. It's great to see a classic character like Duck taking the spotlight of his own story, rather than just being a cameo in, what was it? Henry's Hero. That's where Duck came back. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, Duck is one note in the newer series. Yeah, but so is every other CGI character that they brought back from the classic series. I mean, what the writers do, and I've noticed this with Duck, I've noticed this with Oliver, I have noticed this with every new reintroduced character. The writers take one element from that character's history from the model series, and they basically just make that their one character trait. For Duck, it's him talking about, the Great Western Way, which, if anybody remembers this, in Pop Goes the Diesel, the narrator states that Duck talks endlessly about being Great Western. So, I don't know what everyone's complaining about, because that's been a character trait since the very beginning, and I don't see how people haven't noticed that. I'm personally not a huge fan of how Duck just keeps talking about the Great Western Way. I can kind of deal with it, I guess. This whole discussion was just kind of pointless. It was just really for me to point out that this character trait has been around since the classic series, when Duck was hailed as one of the greatest characters of all time. But if I can praise something about Duck, hey, we got a classic model image of him in the Thomas Way. He appears in some weird photo from his background time on the Great Western Railway. I'm not sure if that's a CGI model or not, but that sure as hell is the model face. The other stories on here are interesting. I think The Switch is a really cool story, actually. It's something we hadn't seen in the Thomas universe up until now. 2 engines swapping jobs and going to different locations and seeing how the other one works. That's genius, actually. Bill and Ben make their reintroduction here in Percy's Lucky Day. It was great to see them back. The Lost Puff, I would say, is probably the worst episode on this release. And it's really not that horrible. It's just kind of weird. I mean, I like Paxton a lot. I think he's a really interesting and funny character. I just don't see why we needed a whole episode around him being stupid. I haven't talked about this in previous HMRs either, but when the CGI series started with Splish Splash Splosh, way back in 2013, basically the way that the release was structured, it would start off with the intro, then go into a Mr. Perkins segment, which was Mr. Perkins on some sort of wild and crazy adventure in the Knapford Station engine driver's common room, and then it would cut to a story, and then it would cut back to Mr. Perkins, cut to a story, and it would continue with that until you reach the credits. The format of that has changed. It's no longer a Mr. Perkins segment broken up into 4 parts. There's now only 1 or 2 Mr. Perkins segments on each release, which includes Mr. Perkins Reads the Railway series, which is a pretty cool featurette, and Mr. Perkins sends a postcard somewhere on Sodor or reads another Railway series book. That happens more often when we get to the newer CGI stuff. But then you also have other segments, like Sir Robert Norramby's Trivia, where Sir Robert Norramby talks directly to the audience and asks trivia questions about some clips that he shows you. Or you have Sir Topham Hatt saying, "Calling all engines," and he shouts out some of his favorite engines on Sodor. I can't remember what the engines were on the Thomas Way, but I know in future, if it wasn't on the Thomas Way, he calls out Harvey for being a crane engine, and basically just shouts a character out for being cool. And then you also have music videos that are interspliced in the middle of the story. So the format has changed, and I think that was a welcome change. I really do. I think that the Thomas releases were kind of getting stale with the whole story Perkins, story Perkins, story Perkins credits. That format got really old. I think that these new segments provide a more, I wouldn't say educational experience, but they provide a more one-on-one experience for children with the characters on screen because they're talking directly to you. It's kind of reminiscent of the old Shining Time Station stuff. Actually, it's not really that reminiscent because the Shining Time Station people didn't talk directly to the audience, but you could say it's kind of like that. So, with the pretty good stories and with the format change, yeah, I say that you should pick up the Thomas Way. Is it really necessary? No, but it does mark a change in the Thomas & Friends video marketplace and how the releases are structured. So, yeah, I'd say you should pick it up. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? Probably eBay. Amazon, I haven't checked prices on Amazon, so it might be really expensive, but eBay is probably your best option. And number 5, what price should you pay? I don't think this had a slipcover. I haven't seen any images of it with a slipcover, so $5. So that's the HMR on the Thomas Way. Once again, a pretty average release. I know I said I had a story for how I found this. The story is basically just, hey, I went to Target one night in 2014, and I found this on the shelf, and I was like, hey, the series is good again. I haven't bought a new DVD in years, so I went ahead and purchased it. And that copy has been in my collection ever since. So next week is on a kind of also average release. I mean, I remember it being pretty good, and I remember loving it back when I first bought it. It's Spills and Thrills. Kind of a ripoff of Spills and Chills. But hey, the kids nowadays, they're not going to know what Spills and Chills is. They only know Spills and Thrills. So anyway, that's next week. I'll catch you all then. Thank you all for watching. As always, good night, everybody.